After losing his wife and the ability to walk, a bitter businessman sets out to prove that love doesn't exist. Disguised, he faces the cruelty of the streets with his son, until a girl's pure gesture changes everything. The impossible happens. He walks again, and from pain, a new family is born. The rain battered the bulletproof windows of the penthouse on the Upper East Side. Gregory Taylor watched the city of New York through the panoramic window, his distorted reflection showing a 45-year-old man with prematurely gray hair and an empty gaze. The carbon fiber wheelchair custom-made for a king's ransom was a constant reminder of the accident on the Long Island Expressway that had changed his life forever 3 years ago. "Daddy?" The timid voice of Lucas, his 7-year-old son, echoed through the spacious, minimalist living room. "My teacher asked you to sign this." Gregory spun the chair with a sharp movement, making the boy take a step back. His eyes, once loving, now carried a constant irritation. "Put it there." He pointed to the coffee table. "Martha will sign it later." "But the teacher said it has to be my guardian." "And isn't it Martha who takes you to school? Isn't she the one who makes your lunch, so she's the guardian, isn't she?" Lucas lowered his eyes and left the paper on the table, walking away in silence. Gregory felt a pang of guilt as he watched his son disappear down the hallway. Since the accident that had left him without movement in his legs and taken his wife, Caroline, he had become a shadow of his former self. The Taylor engineering empire, one of the largest construction firms in the country, continued to run, but its founder and CEO rarely appeared at the offices in Midtown Manhattan. Video conferences replaced his imposing presence, and rumors about his mental health spread among investors and competitors. The intercom buzzed, and the housekeeper's voice announced, "Mr. Taylor, your sister and Dr. Peyton have just arrived." Gregory rolled his eyes. "Send them in." Camilla Taylor entered like a gust of wind, all expensive perfume and calculated energy. Her husband, Dr. Maurice Peyton, a corporate lawyer and minority partner in the construction firm, followed her with a rehearsed smile. "My dear brother," Camilla leaned in for a formal kiss. "How are you feeling today? You look down." "I'm the same as always, Camilla. What do you want? We already had the board meeting this week." Maurice stepped forward, adjusting his Italian tie. "We came to talk about the Vertical Gardens project. The investors are restless about the stoppage. We need a decision from you." "I've already given my decision. The project is suspended until further notice." "But Gregory," Camilla intervened, sitting on the white leather sofa, "that's $200 million invested. The city is putting on pressure. The buyers are threatening lawsuits. Have you forgotten that I'm the one who holds 55% of the shares?" Gregory spun his chair to face them. "The project was approved with irregularities. I won't risk the company's reputation for the sake of speed." "It's precisely reputation we want to talk about," Maurice approached, lowering his voice. "The shareholders are concerned about your situation." "My situation?" Gregory raised an eyebrow. "Your isolation, Gregory," Camilla sighed. "You barely leave this penthouse. Lucas needs a healthy environment, people around him, and the company needs a present leader. Are you suggesting I'm not fit to lead my own company?" "We're suggesting a temporary leave." Maurice handed him a folder. "For medical reasons. 3 months' time for you to fully recover." Gregory flipped through the documents, a bitter smile forming on his lips. "And naturally, during my leave, the board would appoint an interim president. Let me guess, you, Maurice." "It was a unanimous suggestion from the board," Camilla interjected. "We were thinking of your well-being." Gregory threw the papers on the table. "You can get out of my house now." "Gregory, be reasonable," Maurice tried. But the businessman had already turned his chair back to the window. "Martha," he called in a firm voice, and the housekeeper appeared promptly. "Show my guests to the door, they're leaving." After the tense departure of the couple, Gregory remained motionless, watching the city. The rain now fell in dense sheets, turning the view into a grey blur. A distant thunderclap echoed, and for a moment he was transported back to that night on the highway. The out-of-control truck, the blinding headlights, Caroline's scream. "Sir?" Martha's voice brought him back. "Dinner is served." "I'm not hungry." "The boy is waiting." He said he made a drawing for you at school. Gregory sighed deeply. All right. In the spacious dining room, Lucas sat in silence before his almost untouched plate. When Gregory entered, the boy sat up straight, a momentary glint of hope in his eyes. Martha said you have something to show me. Gregory positioned the chair at the table. Lucas took a folded piece of paper from the chair beside him and handed it to his father. It was a simple drawing. 3 stick figures, one in a wheelchair, all holding hands with a large yellow sun above them. It's us, Lucas explained. Me, you, and Mommy in heaven watching over us. Gregory felt a lump in his throat. He nodded briefly and folded the drawing, putting it in his shirt pocket. The heavy silence returned to dominate the room as Martha served dinner. Later, after putting Lucas to bed, Gregory wheeled his chair into his office. On the walls, diplomas and awards for business excellence. On the desk, photographs of a life that no longer existed. Gregory standing next to influential politicians and businessmen. Gregory hugging Caroline on the beach. Gregory holding a newborn Lucas. He opened his laptop and began to read the accumulated emails. Among proposals and reports, he found an anonymous message. Dear Mr. Taylor, as an employee of tech, I believe I should warn you. Your brother-in-law and your sister are conspiring with board members to remove you permanently. There are already documents being prepared questioning your mental capacity. Be careful. Gregory felt his blood boil. So that was it. It wasn't enough to try to manipulate him openly. Now they were scheming behind his back. A feeling of profound loneliness washed over him, mixed with contempt for human greed. It was always like this. Self-interest, advantage, money. No one truly cared. He wheeled his chair to the window again. Down below, even in the rain, people moved hurriedly, each in their own bubble of indifference. An idea began to form in his mind, first as a flash, then as a concrete plan. He needed to prove his theory. He needed to show Lucas, himself, the world, that humanity was driven only by self-interest and convenience, and he would do it in the most direct way possible. He would experience social invisibility. Gregory Taylor, the construction billionaire, would disguise himself as a homeless man. He would spend an entire day on the sidewalks of New York asking for help, and he would take Lucas with him, so the boy would learn the harsh reality early on. In this world, you're only worth what you possess. With determined fingers, he opened a new email to his trusted assistant. Raphael, I need old clothes, 2 sets. One for me, another for a 7-year-old child. Nothing identifiable. And clear my schedule for next Friday. Don't tell anyone, especially my sister. It's a security matter. The rain finally ceased, giving way to a starless night sky. Gregory Taylor now had a goal, a mission to prove his cynical view of the world. What he didn't know was that this experience would change his life in ways he could never have imagined. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us which city you're watching from. Continuing. Friday dawned cold for New York standards. Gregory woke up determined, his plan meticulously structured. Raphael had discreetly delivered the requested clothes, asking only if everything was all right. Lucas, Gregory called, entering his son's room where he was still sleeping. Wake up, you're not going to school today. The boy opened his eyes, confused. I'm not? Today we're going to have a different lesson. A lesson about real life. As he helped his son dress in tattered and purposefully stained clothes, Gregory explained in simple words, We're going to do a social experiment, Lucas. Do you know what that is? It's when we pretend to be other people to understand how the world really works. Like scientists? The boy asked, intrigued by the faded t-shirt his father handed him. Exactly. We're going to observe how people treat those who have no money. Lucas seemed unsure, but the novelty of doing something with his father, after so many months of distance, spoke louder than his apprehension. Gregory, dressed in old clothes, strategically smudged his face and messed up his hair. He examined his reflection in the mirror. The transformation was remarkable. No one would recognize the powerful businessman in him. For a second, he felt a chill seeing his degraded image, a symbolic premonition of what could have happened if not for his financial empire. Raphael will be following us from a distance to ensure our safety, he explained to Lucas as the assistant helped them into the unmarked van. But no one should know who we really are. Raphael drove to the area around Penn Station, a central part of the city, where he dropped them off on a discreet corner. I'll be nearby, he assured, the concern evident in his eyes. Gregory positioned himself in an ordinary wheelchair, very different from the sophisticated one he used daily. Lucas walked beside him, holding a small handwritten sign, "Please help my dad." The first few hours were exactly as Gregory had predicted, almost complete invisibility. People averted their gazes, quickened their pace, pretended to answer their phones. Some looked at Lucas with momentary pity, but quickly moved on, perhaps thinking that others would help. "I'm hungry, Daddy," Lucas whispered after 3 hours under the sun that was beginning to warm up. "This is part of the experience," Gregory replied firmly. "Let's see how long it takes for someone to offer food." Another hour passed. A man in a suit approached, and for a moment Gregory thought help was at hand. But the executive just threw a few coins on the ground without stopping, without looking, like someone feeding pigeons. "Thank you, sir," Lucas tried to say, but the man was already far away. "See, son, that's how it works. No one really stops to help. They just ease their consciences." They moved to another spot near Times Square. There the flow of people was greater, but the indifference remained the same. An elderly lady stopped briefly, looked at Lucas with compassion, but upon seeing Gregory's challenging gaze, she went on her way. In the afternoon they went to Fifth Avenue. They sat near one of the subway entrances, where hundreds of people passed every minute. A group of teenagers laughed as they passed. "Look at the little punk starting early," one of them sneered, pointing at Lucas, who shrank against his father's chair. Gregory felt his theory being confirmed with every passing minute. Society was indeed a hypocritical construct. The same people who applauded his speeches on social responsibility at charity events now walked straight past, indifferent to a hungry child. It was then that Lucas, tired and disheartened, sat on the ground next to the wheelchair. "Daddy, can we go home? Nobody likes us here." The simple, direct words hit Gregory like a punch. For a moment, his social experiment seemed cruel. He was using his own son to prove a bitter theory. But before he could answer, a childish voice sounded nearby. "Are you okay, little boy?" A girl of about 8, with curly hair tied in messy pigtails, looked at Lucas with genuine concern. Her clothes were as worn as theirs, but clean. Beside her, a medium-sized, tan-colored mutt, thin but alert, accompanied her faithfully. "I'm hungry," Lucas answered honestly. Without hesitation, the girl opened a worn plastic bag and took out half a bread roll wrapped in a napkin. "I got it at the bakery. We can share." Lucas looked at his father, who nodded slightly, surprised. The girl broke the bread into 3 unequal pieces, offering the largest to Lucas, the medium one to Gregory, and keeping the smallest for herself. The dog sat patiently, as if it understood the protocol. "My name is Sophia." The girl introduced herself with a smile that lit up her face, marked by life on the streets. "And this is Popcorn. I'm Lucas, and this is my dad." Sophia sat naturally beside them, as if they were old friends, meeting in the park. "Are you new around here? I've never seen you before." "We're just passing through," Gregory answered, intrigued by the girl's naturalness. "Do you have a place to sleep? It's going to rain tonight. I know a covered spot near the underpass." The conversation flowed with a disconcerting simplicity. Sophia talked about her days, about the places where she could get food, about the kind people who sometimes helped her, without ever mentioning the obvious hardships of her life. The dog Popcorn rested his head on Lucas's lap, who smiled for the first time that day. "Can't. Do you really walk, sir?" Sophia asked, looking at Gregory's motionless legs. "No, for 3 years." Sophia came closer, looking at him with a disconcerting intensity. "Can I try something? My grandma taught me before she went away." Before Gregory could answer, Sophia placed her small hands on his knees. She closed her eyes as if in concentration or prayer. Gregory watched, half amused and half touched by the child's innocence. It was then that he felt it. A warmth, subtle at first, then intense, spreading from the girl's hands to his numb legs, a sensation he hadn't experienced in years, his muscles responding, tingling, waking up. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice trembling. Sophia didn't answer, keeping her eyes closed, her hands firm on his knees. The dog, Popcorn, watched intently, as if witnessing something familiar. And then, the impossible happened. Gregory felt his toes move inside his old sneakers, a subtle, almost imperceptible movement, but real. "My God," he whispered. With an effort that sent waves of pain through his spine, Gregory leaned forward, placing his hands on the arms of the chair. He pushed with all his might, testing the limits of his body, and to his absolute shock, managed to partially stand up. Lucas watched, dumbfounded. "Daddy, you're standing." He wasn't completely upright, but for a few seconds, Gregory Taylor, the man whom doctors had condemned to a life in a wheelchair, supported part of his weight on his own legs. Sophia opened her eyes and smiled, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "My grandma used to say that sometimes we just need to believe again." Gregory let himself fall back into the chair, breathless in a state of shock. What had just happened defied all logic, all science. Was he hallucinating? Was it the heat, the hunger? "Raphael," he called, his voice echoing on the busy street. Seconds later, his assistant appeared from the crowd, alarmed. "Sir, did something happen? Take us home, all of us." He pointed to Sophia and the dog. "Now." In the car, as Raphael drove tensely back to the Upper East Side, Gregory couldn't take his eyes off Sophia, who was playing animatedly with Lucas in the back seat. Who was this child? How could he explain what had happened? And more importantly, why, out of hundreds of people, had only this girl who had nothing offered genuine help? When they arrived at the penthouse, Martha was waiting at the door, horrified to see her employer in that state, accompanied by a street girl and a dog. "Mr. Taylor, for God's sake, what happened?" "Martha, prepare the guest room and a warm bath. We have special guests." "But, sir, that's an order." When Sophia timidly entered the immense apartment, looking in awe at the luxury around her, Gregory made a decision that would change all their lives. This girl, who had shown more humanity than anyone he had known in years, would not return to the streets, not if he could help it. "Sophia," he called, as Raphael was still helping him back into his special chair. "Would you like to stay with us for a few days?" The girl's smile was answer enough. News of Sophia and Popcorn's presence in Gregory Taylor's penthouse spread quickly among the staff. Martha, initially resistant, suspiciously supervised the girl's bath, setting aside her old clothes for immediate disposal. "Sir, I need to speak with you in private," the housekeeper insisted. Entering the office where Gregory, now back in his sophisticated chair and clean clothes, was on the phone. "One moment, Dr. Montgomery." Gregory covered the phone. "Not now, Martha. It's about this girl. We can't just—" "Later, Martha." The tone brooked no argument. When he finally hung up, Gregory called Raphael. "I want you to contact the city's social services. We need to regularize Sophia's situation." "Are you planning to adopt her?" Raphael asked, surprised. "For now, I want to offer a temporary home. But yes, I'm considering all possibilities." "Sir," Martha finally got his attention, "with all due respect, you don't know this girl. She could be connected to dangerous people. And that dog? It must be full of diseases." "Martha," Gregory faced her firmly, "Sophia stays. And Popcorn, too. If that's a problem for you, I can look for another housekeeper." The woman paled, backing away. "No, sir. I'm just concerned for Lucas's safety and yours." "Then show your concern by taking good care of our guests." Later, after a dinner where Sophia ate with a voracious appetite but maintained surprisingly good manners, Gregory watched through the half-open bedroom door as Lucas showed his toys to his new friend. Popcorn, already bathed and with a makeshift collar, rested at the foot of the bed, vigilant but relaxed. "You've never had a doll?" Lucas asked, incredulous. "I had one once. Mrs. Marlene from the bakery gave it to me, but then I had to trade it for food," Sophia answered naturally, without self-pity. The simplicity of the answer struck Gregory deeply. He moved away, thoughtful, and went to his room. He tried to repeat what had happened on the street, forcing his legs to respond, but without success. Had he imagined it? Was it just a coincidental muscle spasm? The doctors had always said his paralysis was permanent, the result of spinal cord damage. "Sir," Raphael knocked lightly on the door. "Your sister is on the line. It sounds urgent." Gregory sighed. "Put it on speaker." "Gregory," Camilla's voice was shrill, "I'm getting very strange messages. Is it true you've taken a street girl to live with you, and a mutt? Have you completely lost your mind?" "Good evening to you too, Camilla." "Don't play the smart aleck. Maurice is on his way over there right now." "This is insanity, Gregory. What will Lucas think? What kind of example are you setting? Don't worry about my son, Camilla, and tell Maurice not to bother. Won't be receiving you." "Gregory, this confirms everything we've been saying about your instability. A street child. You don't even know where she came from." "I know exactly where she came from, Camilla. From the streets you pass by every day with your windows rolled up." He hung up without waiting for a reply. Minutes later, his cell phone vibrated with a message from Maurice. "We need to talk. This is serious. Think about what you're doing." Gregory ignored it. Something bigger dominated his thoughts. The sensation in his legs, the inexplicable connection with that girl, the almost immediate transformation in Lucas's behavior since her arrival. It was as if a breath of life had entered the sterile, silent house. The next morning, Gregory woke to unusual sounds. Laughter. Following the noise to the kitchen, he found Lucas and Sophia helping Martha make pancakes, while Popcorn watched hopefully for any crumb that might fall. "Good morning," Gregory said, surprised to see his son so animated. "Daddy," Lucas exclaimed, "Sophia's never had pancakes, and Martha is teaching us how to make them." The housekeeper, visibly uncomfortable, forced a smile. "I thought the children could enjoy their Saturday with a different activity." "Excellent idea," Gregory smiled, noticing that Sophia was already wearing new clothes, probably bought in a hurry by Raphael. During breakfast, Sophia ate each bite as if it were a rare delicacy, closing her eyes in pleasure. "I've never eaten anything so good in my life," she declared, making Lucas laugh. "They're just pancakes, Sophia." "It's the best food in the world," the girl insisted. The doorbell rang, and Martha announced, "Your sister and Dr. Peyton, sir. They insist on speaking with you." Gregory took a deep breath. "Let them in. Kids, why don't you go play in Lucas's room?" As soon as the children left, Camilla and Maurice entered like a storm. "Where is she?" Camilla demanded, looking around as if searching for a dangerous object. "Good morning to you too," Gregory replied calmly. "Gregory," Maurice assumed his professional tone, "as your lawyer and a member of this family, I must warn you about the legal risks of this situation. Harboring a minor without authorization could be interpreted as a humanitarian act," Gregory interrupted. "I'm already in contact with the proper authorities. Sophia will be under my temporary guardianship until we resolve her situation." "You can barely take care." "To have your own son?" Camilla exclaimed. "How do you intend to take responsibility for a street girl?" "That's the point, Camilla. I wasn't really taking care of Lucas, was I?" Gregory moved the chair to face them directly. "Since the accident, I've become a ghost in this house. It took a child who has nothing to show me what true generosity is for me to wake up." "This is madness," Maurice shook his head. "The board needs to know about this." "The board?" Gregory laughed sarcastically. "You mean the people you're manipulating to have me removed? I've been monitoring your every move, Maurice." The lawyer paled. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I know about the emails, the secret meetings, the documents prepared questioning my sanity." Gregory leaned forward. "Did you really think I would let go of control of my company without a fight?" Camilla intervened, changing tactics. "Gregory, we're worried about you. After the accident, you changed. This fixation on a street girl, this impulsive behavior, it's not you." "On the contrary, Camilla, I'm finally finding who I was meant to be." The argument was interrupted by the unexpected entrance of Sophia, followed by Lucas and Popcorn. "Uncle Gregory," Sophia called timidly. She had started calling him that the night before. "Lucas is showing me the house. Is that okay?" The silence that followed was thick. Camilla observed Sophia as if analyzing an unknown species. The girl, sensing the tension, took a step back. "Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt." "You're not interrupting anything, Sophia," Gregory assured her. "Come meet my sister Camilla and my brother-in-law Maurice." Sophia approached politely, extending her hand. "Pleased to meet you." Camilla deliberately ignored the outstretched hand. "You know you can't stay here forever, don't you? Uncle Gregory will find a suitable place for you, a shelter or a family that can adopt you." Lucas's eyes widened. "No, Sophia is going to stay with us, right, Dad?" Before Gregory could answer, Sophia spoke with surprising maturity. "I know I can't take advantage of Uncle Gregory's kindness, but while I'm here, I promise to behave well and help with whatever I can." The response surprised everyone. Camilla, disconcerted, looked at Maurice, who tried to regain control of the situation. "Gregory, we need to handle this professionally. We'll contact Child Protective Services, find a suitable institution." "No," Gregory interrupted firmly. "Sophia is staying here. I've already made my decision." After the couple's tense departure, Gregory found Sophia sitting alone on the balcony, watching the city. "They didn't like me," the girl stated simply. "They don't like a lot of things," Gregory replied, positioning himself beside her. "Sophia, do you remember what happened yesterday when you touched my legs?" The girl nodded. "I felt something warm, like when my grandma used to heal people in our community." "Your grandmother healed people?" "She was a faith healer. Everyone went to her when they were sick." Gregory hesitated, then asked, "Could you try again?" Sophia smiled and came closer. She placed her hands on Gregory's knees again and closed her eyes. The same warmth as before began to spread, more intense this time. "Try to stand up now," the girl whispered. With effort, leaning on the arms of the chair, Gregory pushed himself up. To his amazement, he managed to stand for a few seconds before his legs gave way, and he fell back into the chair. "My God," he murmured, trembling. "How is this possible?" Sophia shrugged. "My grandma said some people have a gift. She taught me before she went away." The simplicity of the explanation contrasted with the miracle Gregory had just experienced. 3 years of consultations with the best specialists, expensive experimental treatments, and nothing had achieved what the small hands of that street child had accomplished in minutes. "Sophia," Gregory held the girl's hands, emotional, "would you like to stay with us? Not just for a few days, but forever." The girl's eyes widened. "Like a real family." "Exactly like a real family." Sophia hugged Gregory tightly, and he felt tears, his and hers, wet his shirt. "Can I call you Dad one day?" Sophia asked in a whisper. "Whenever you're ready," Gregory replied, his voice thick with emotion. Lucas appeared at the balcony door, watching the scene with curiosity. Sophia extended a hand to him. "Lucas, Uncle Gregory said I can stay. We're going to be like siblings." The boy ran to join the hug, and for the first time since the accident, Gregory felt his house was once again a home. Popcorn, as if understanding the moment, approached and lay at the feet of the three, completing the unlikely circle that was beginning to form. On the New York skyline, the sun began to set, painting the sky in orange hues. A new phase was beginning for all of them, but Gregory knew they would face many obstacles. Camilla and Maurice would not give up easily. The bureaucracy of adoption would be challenging, and Sophia's integration into a world so different from her own would require patience and understanding. But at that moment, feeling the warmth of the children against his body, Gregory was certain it would be worth every effort. Sophia had given him much more than the hope of walking again. She had restored his faith in humanity and in the future. 2 weeks had passed since Sophia's arrival. The social worker, Dr. Veronica Fields, had visited the penthouse 3 times, always with a critical eye that made her disapproval clear. "Mr. Taylor," she said during her last visit, "I understand your intentions, but I must be frank. The adoption process is long and rigorous. The socio-economic and cultural gap between you and Sophia is extreme. The court will question whether this is truly the best environment for her." "And living on the streets would be better?" Gregory retorted, controlling his irritation. There are appropriate institutions, families who have been on waiting lists for years. Sophia is not an object to be distributed to the most convenient family, Dr. Fields. She has already found her family. Here. The social worker sighed, adjusting her glasses. Have you at least enrolled the girl in a school? She needs a formal education. We're taking care of that this week. Sophia will be enrolled in the same school as Lucas. The social worker's eyes widened. The Athena Academy? Mr. Taylor, with all due respect, that institution caters to New York's elite. Sophia has never attended a regular school. The culture shock will be enormous. Sophia is perfectly capable of adapting, and she will have all the support she needs. When the social worker finally left, leaving the promise of a detailed report in the air, Gregory found Sophia helping Martha fold clothes. The housekeeper, surprisingly, seemed more receptive to the girl, especially after Sophia began offering to help with household chores, something she did naturally without being asked. "Sophia," Gregory called, "shall we talk about school?" The girl nodded, following him to the office where Lucas was already waiting. "Have you ever been to school before?" Gregory asked gently. Sophia shook her head. "Just a little, when I lived with my grandma. After she went away, I stopped going." "Well, starting Monday, you'll be studying at the same school as Lucas. It's a very good school, but maybe a little different from what you know." Sophia's eyes lit up. "Will I be able to learn to read properly? The teacher in the community only taught me a little." The simple question moved Gregory. Amidst all the turmoil, he hadn't realized Sophia's literacy was limited. "Of course you will. And we'll hire private tutors to help you catch up with the class." Lucas, who had been unusually quiet, finally spoke. "Dad, what if the other kids are mean to Sophia? There are some boys there who are really nasty." The genuine concern on his son's face touched Gregory. In the last few days, Lucas had transformed. Apathy had given way to a contagious joy, and his sense of responsibility as the older brother, though he was a few months younger than Sophia, had blossomed unexpectedly. "You will look out for each other," Gregory replied. "And if there are any problems, you tell me immediately." On the Sunday before school started, Raphael arrived with packages of uniforms and school supplies for Sophia. The girl tried on the impeccable Athena Academy uniform as if it were a princess dress, twirling in front of the mirror, mesmerized. "I've never had such beautiful clothes," she confessed, running her hand over the embroidered crest. Meanwhile, Gregory continued his private sessions with Sophia. Daily, for 20 minutes, the girl would place her hands on his legs, concentrating intensely. The progress was slow but undeniable. Gregory could already stand for almost a minute, and with support, take a few shaky steps. The family doctor, Dr. Paul Montgomery, was astonished. "Gregory, in 20 years of neurology, I've never seen anything like it. The lesion in your spinal cord, it was permanent. There's no scientific explanation for this recovery." "Maybe there are things beyond science, Paul." The doctor watched through the window as Sophia played with Lucas and popcorn in the penthouse garden. "That girl, there's something special about her." "More than you can imagine," Gregory replied, "and that's why I won't let them take her from me." Monday arrived, bringing with it the nervousness of the first day of school. Sophia, impeccably dressed in her new uniform, held Lucas's hand tightly as they walked through the imposing gates of the Athena Academy. Gregory watched from a distance inside the car, unable to accompany them due to the logistics of his wheelchair. "I'll keep an eye on them," assured Raphael, who would be driving the children every day. The children's return hours later brought mixed results. Lucas came in looking downcast, while Sophia maintained a forced smile. "How was your day?" Gregory asked anxiously. "It was good," Sophia replied quickly. "The teacher is nice." Lucas, however, burst out, "It was horrible. That idiot Henry kept calling Sophia a gutter rat and asking if she used to pick through trash before she came to live here." Gregory felt his blood boil. "And what did the teachers do?" "Nothing. Sophia didn't say anything to them." Sophia looked down. "I didn't want to cause trouble." Gregory moved closer, taking the girl's hands. "Sophia, never let anyone mistreat you. You have as much right to be in that school as any other student." In the following days, the situation didn't improve. The children came home more and more silent, and Gregory realized they were both being bullied. Lucas for defending the street girl, and Sophia for her background. "We need to talk to the headmistress," Gregory finally decided. The meeting with the headmistress, Mrs. Helen Bontempi, was tense from the start. "Mr. Taylor," the elegantly dressed woman said, "I understand your concern, but the Athena Academy is a traditional institution. Our pedagogical approach presupposes a certain cultural homogeneity among the students. Are you suggesting Sophia doesn't fit in because of her background?" Gregory's tone was icy. "I am merely stating that her adaptation will be challenging. Our families invest a great deal to provide an environment of excellence for their children. Diversity is welcome, of course, but within certain parameters." "What parameters would those be, Mrs. Bontempi?" "Economic, racial." Gregory leaned forward in his wheelchair. "Because if that's the case, perhaps I should reconsider the generous donations I've been making to this institution for the past 5 years. The headmistress turned pale. "Absolutely not, Mr. Taylor. There must be a misunderstanding. I will take immediate action regarding the bullying incidents." "Excellent. And I expect a concrete social inclusion project on my desk by the end of the week. The Athena Academy will have the opportunity to become an example of integration and respect for diversity." Upon arriving home, however, a new crisis awaited them. Camilla was in the living room, gesturing furiously at Martha, while Lucas and Sophia listened, hidden behind the door. "What is going on here?" Gregory demanded. "This was in your protégé's room." Camilla pointed to a diamond necklace that Gregory immediately recognized as a family heirloom, inherited from his mother. "Martha found it while she was tidying up." "That's not true," Sophia protested, coming out of her hiding place. "I never took anything." "Typical," Camilla sneered. "The first lesson these kids learn on the streets is how to lie." "Sophia," Gregory kept his voice calm, "did you take this necklace?" "No." Tears streamed down the girl's face. "I swear, Uncle Gregory, I would never steal from you." Gregory looked closely at the necklace, then smiled. "Camilla, you've always had a terrible eye for jewelry. This isn't Mother's diamond necklace. Real diamonds have a specific sparkle under this light." He moved the piece under the lamp. "These are cheap zircons, a crude copy." Camilla paled. "Impossible. The real one is in the safe, where it's always been. And funnily enough, only 3 people have the combination, me, you, and Maurice." Gregory moved closer to his sister. "Why would you do this, Camilla? Plant false evidence to frame a child? That's absurd. I came here precisely because Martha called me saying she had found the necklace." All eyes turned to the housekeeper, who shrank back. Mrs. Taylor asked me to check the girl's room regularly, for security." "I see," Gregory sighed deeply. "Martha, you're fired." The housekeeper's eyes widened. "But Mr. Taylor, I've worked for your family for 15 years, and for the last 3, you've been more loyal to my sister than to me. I want you out by the end of the day." Camilla tried to intervene. "Gregory, you're completely out of your mind. First you take in a street girl, now you're firing loyal staff because of her. Get out of my house, Camilla, and if you ever try something like this again, I will cut off all your access to the family funds." After the stormy departure of Camilla and Martha, Gregory found Sophia crying in her room. "I didn't take it, I swear," the girl sobbed. "I know." Gregory wiped her tears. "I know you better than they think. Why does your sister hate me so much?" Gregory sighed. "It's not hate, Sophia, it's fear. Fear of losing control, money, influence. People like Camilla believe a person's worth is in what they have, not who they are." Sophia hugged him tightly. "Thank you for believing in me." That night, after the children were asleep, Gregory received an alarming email from one of his contacts at the company. Maurice had called an extraordinary board meeting for the next morning, without his presence or knowledge. The subject, re-evaluation of the CEO's executive capacity. Gregory took a deep breath. The coup was in motion. "Raphael," he called his assistant, "prepare the documents we set aside, and schedule a visit with Dr. Montgomery for tomorrow morning before the meeting." "What are you planning to do, sir?" "Walk." The next morning, for the first time in 3 years, Gregory Taylor walked into the boardroom of Taylor Engineering using only a cane for support. The buzz that followed was instantaneous. Maurice, who was standing and presenting slides on the CEO's emotional instability, froze mid-sentence. "Gentlemen, ladies," Gregory greeted the astonished board, "my apologies for the delay. The traffic in Midtown is terrible today." "Gregory," Camilla was the first to find her voice, How did you—" "I'm walking again, as you can see. Dr. Paul Montgomery can better explain the medical details, but let's just say I've undergone a revolutionary treatment." Gregory sat at the head of the table, smiling. "Now, about this meeting my brother-in-law called without my knowledge. I think we have a lot to discuss." The silence in the boardroom was absolute. Gregory, maintaining his composure, despite the physical effort of standing for so long, leaned on his cane as Raphael distributed folders to each board member. "What you are looking at," Gregory explained, finally sitting down, "are copies of emails, conversation transcripts, and internal audit reports we've conducted over the past 2 months. Maurice tried to interject. "This is completely irregular. This meeting has a set agenda." "An agenda you set without authorization, violating 5 articles of the company's bylaws," Gregory cut in, his voice sharp as a razor. "But let's allow the board to decide what is more urgent. My supposed incapacity, or the evidence that my brother-in-law and my sister have been embezzling company funds for at least 2 years." Pages were turned, alarmed glances exchanged. Camilla turned pale as she recognized copies of bank transfers to offshore companies in her name. "This is slander, a fabrication," she protested, standing up abruptly. "The documents are authenticated and verifiable," Gregory replied calmly. "The transfers coincide precisely with project approvals that you, Maurice, aggressively defended in the board. Projects that, curiously, always involved the same third-party contractors that, upon investigation, we discovered have direct ties to your brother." One of the board members, Albert Marshall, cleared his throat uncomfortably. "Mr. Taylor, these are extremely serious accusations." "Which I am not making lightly, Albert. 2 months ago I received anonymous tips. Initially I didn't believe them. My own sister? Then I began to investigate discreetly." Gregory looked directly at Maurice. "That's when I realized that the attempts to remove me coincided with questions I started asking about certain financial decisions." Maurice stood up, nervously adjusting his tie. "This is a circus. You show up here, supposedly cured of a paralysis that all doctors declared permanent, and make baseless accusations. This only confirms our concern about your mental state." "Dr. Montgomery?" Gregory signaled, and the doctor who had been waiting outside entered the room. "Please, explain my medical situation to the board." The neurologist cleared his throat. "After extensive tests performed yesterday, I can confirm that Mr. Taylor is experiencing an unprecedented neurological recovery. The scans show nerve tissue regeneration and partial recovery of motor function. I cannot scientifically explain the mechanism, but the results are indisputable." "As for the accusations," Gregory continued, "we have 3 former accounting employees willing to testify about alterations to financial reports made under direct pressure from Maurice." The meeting dragged on for 3 hours. In the end, the board voted unanimously for Maurice's immediate removal from all company functions and the opening of a full external audit. Camilla, though she held no official position, had her benefits and access suspended. As he left, leaning on Raphael, Gregory felt exhausted but victorious. Standing for so long had been extremely taxing, but the shock on every face when he walked in had been worth every second of pain. "Get ready," he murmured to Raphael as they entered the elevator. "This was just the beginning. They'll retaliate and the target will be Sophia." That afternoon, as predicted, Camilla filed a formal complaint with Child Protective Services, alleging that Gregory had kidnapped a homeless minor and was keeping her in inadequate conditions without legal formalization. The social worker, Dr. Veronica Fields, was summoned for an emergency visit. "Mr. Taylor," she said, her face stern as she entered the penthouse, "I need to assess the situation immediately. We've received serious allegations." Certainly. Gregory, back in his wheelchair to rest his still fragile legs, remained calm. Sophia is in her tutoring session with her private teacher. Lucas is with her. The social worker went through every room in the house, making meticulous notes. When she finally found Sophia in the library, focused on basic math exercises while Lucas patiently helped her, her hardened gaze softened slightly. "Sophia, I need to speak with you alone." The private conversation lasted nearly an hour. When Sophia finally left the room, her eyes were red from crying. "What did you say to her?" Gregory demanded, alarmed. "Just standard assessment questions," the social worker replied coldly. "Mr. Taylor, I must be frank. Despite the excellent material conditions you provide, there are concerning issues. The socio-cultural gap, the absence of a maternal figure, your own health status. My health is improving progressively, as you can see. Yes, I noticed you're using the chair intermittently. Another sudden and unexplained change that raises questions about stability." Gregory took a deep breath, controlling his frustration. "Dr. Fields, I want to show you something." Slowly, leaning on the table, he stood up. With calculated steps, he walked to the window and back. 3 weeks ago, this would have been impossible. Do you know what changed? Sophia. Are you suggesting she cured your paralysis? The skepticism in the social worker's voice was palpable. I am stating that since she entered our lives, miracles have started to happen. Lucas began to smile again after 3 years. I am walking again. This house has become a home again. The social worker adjusted her glasses, disconcerted. Mr. Taylor, with all due respect, that sounds irrational. Do you believe in faith, Dr. Fields? In things we cannot fully explain? My personal beliefs are not relevant to this assessment. On the contrary, they are extremely relevant, because if you only believe in what can be measured and documented, you will never understand what Sophia represents to this family. After the social worker left, Gregory found Sophia hidden in her room, hugging popcorn. She's going to send me away, isn't she? The girl asked, her voice small and scared. Gregory sat beside her on the bed. Not if I can help it. I will fight for you with all my strength. Sophia, I promise. That night, Gregory received an unexpected call. It was Dr. Lucy Mendez, another social worker. Mr. Taylor, I've been assigned to take over the case of the minor, Sophia. Dr. Fields has requested to be removed due to a conflict of interest. A conflict of interest? It seems she has personal ties to your sister, a long-standing friendship that was not initially declared. Gregory wasn't surprised. Camilla's connections were extensive and strategically cultivated. When can we meet, Dr. Mendez? Tomorrow, if possible. I'd like to start from scratch, without any preconceived notions or prior reports influencing my assessment. The next day, a middle-aged woman with graying hair and a warm smile introduced herself at the door. Dr. Lucy Mendez, a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Taylor. The new social worker had a completely different approach. Instead of forms and checklists, she spent hours talking informally with Sophia, Lucas, and Gregory, observing their natural interactions. When popcorn ran into the room, chasing a ball Lucas had thrown, she laughed instead of making notes about inadequate sanitary conditions. What's your story, Sophia? She asked gently during a private moment. I lived with my grandma until I was 5. She took care of me and other people in our community. Then she got sick and went away. I stayed with a neighbor for a while, but then she couldn't have me there anymore. So I was on the streets with popcorn, who I found abandoned. And how did you meet Mr. Taylor? Sophia honestly recounted their meeting, omitting only the miracle of his legs. Gregory had asked her to keep that between them for now. He was sad. Lucas was too. I felt like I could help, she concluded simply. Dr. Mendez observed the girl for a long moment. And you, like living here, don't you miss your old life? Sophia thought before answering. I miss my grandma every day, but she always said we have to follow the path God puts us on. I think she's the one who sent me to Uncle Gregory and Lucas. After 2 days of visits, Dr. Mendez finally shared her impressions with Gregory. Mr. Taylor, in 30 years of social work, I've learned to recognize when a child is truly safe and loved. Sophia is thriving here. Your son Lucas shows a genuine fraternal bond with her. And you, she smiled, You are visibly transforming every day. Does that mean? It means my report will strongly recommend the continuation of temporary guardianship with a view to permanent adoption. Of course, the legal process will run its course, and the judge will have the final say. Gregory felt a wave of relief. When would the hearing be? In about a month. Until then, we will document Sophia's progress, her school adaptation, the family bond. Not all was good news, however. At school, despite the headmistress's promises, Sophia continued to face resistance, not just from classmates, but from parents who sent a formal letter to the institution questioning the policy of indiscriminate inclusion of students without an adequate academic history. The situation reached a critical point when, during recess, a group of girls surrounded Sophia. "My mum said you used to live in a dump and eat garbage," one of them provoked. Sophia remained silent, her eyes downcast. "Is it true your dog has fleas? My dad said we shouldn't get near you because you might have diseases," another continued. Lucas, watching from a distance, ran to defend his adoptive sister. "Leave her alone. Look at the defender of the gutter rat," an older boy pushed Lucas, who fell to the ground. It was then that something unexpected happened. Sophia lifted her eyes, staring at each of the children with a disconcerting intensity. "You don't know anything about me," she said in a clear, firm voice. "Not about what it's like to be hungry or cold or truly afraid. You have everything and yet you're empty inside. I feel sorry for you." The silence that followed was broken by the arrival of a teacher, but something had changed. The dignity with which Sophia defended herself, without aggression but with unshakable firmness, provoked reflection in some of those present. That same afternoon, one of the girls who had participated in the taunting timidly approached Sophia. "Sorry about what happened today. My mom, she says mean things, but she's not always right." It was a small but significant start. Sophia smiled and offered her a piece of her chocolate. At home, Gregory received worrying news. The hearing date had been moved up at the request of Camilla's lawyers, who claimed urgency in protecting the minor. "They're trying to catch us off guard," Gregory concluded, speaking with Raphael. "We need to speed up all preparations." As the legal battle intensified, something extraordinary was happening inside the house. Gregory used his wheelchair less and less, relying mainly on his cane. Sophia continued her daily sessions, placing her hands on his legs, concentrating intensely. Each day, the businessman felt more strength, more control over his movements. "Don't tell anyone our secret yet," Gregory would ask her. "My grandma said some healings only work when they're silent." A week before the decisive hearing, Gregory received an unexpected visit in his office. Helen Bontempi, the school's headmistress. "Mr. Taylor," she began, visibly nervous, "I have come personally to apologize for the way Sophia has been treated at our institution." Did something specific happen to prompt this visit? Actually, yes. There was an incident involving a 6th grade student who was having a severe anxiety attack. No teacher could calm him down. Sophia, who was passing by in the hallway, simply entered the room, held the boy's hands and sat in silence with him for a few minutes. The boy calmed down completely. Gregory smiled. Sophia and her special gift. Since then, I have been observing her more closely. There is something extraordinary about her, Mr. Taylor, and I realize I was blind and prejudiced, not to recognize it immediately. The headmistress placed a folder on the desk. "We have developed a scholarship program for children from underprivileged communities starting next semester, and we would like Sophia to be our ambassador for this project." At the end of that week, a report in the city's main newspaper highlighted the adoption process that had become a landmark case. "Millionaire businessman fights to adopt homeless girl, a story of transformation and prejudice," was the headline. Public opinion began to mobilize in favor of Gregory and Sophia. On the eve of the hearing, Gregory gathered the children in the living room. "Tomorrow will be a very important day," he explained calmly. "A judge will decide if Sophia can continue to live with us officially." "What if she says no?" Lucas asked, grabbing Sophia's hand. "She won't," Gregory answered with conviction, "because we are a real family, and no one can separate a real family." That night, after the children were asleep, Gregory stood on the balcony, contemplating the city. 3 weeks earlier, he had been bitter, isolated, convinced of the world's intrinsic evil. Now he was literally on his feet again, fighting with all his might for something much greater than money or power. The right to be a father to an extraordinary child who had appeared in his path when he least expected it, but needed it most. "We're ready," said Raphael, handing him the folder with all the documents for the hearing. "Yes," Gregory replied, looking at a photo of the sleeping children on his phone. More than ever. The New York County Supreme Court was exceptionally busy that morning. In the third-floor corridor, Gregory waited for the hearing to begin, using his cane and wearing his best suit. Beside him, Sophia wore a simple yellow dress she had chosen herself, her curly hair tied back with a matching ribbon. Lucas, dressed formally, did not let go of his adoptive sister's hand. "Remember, Sophia," Gregory instructed gently, "just tell the truth. Speak from the heart." The girl nodded, calmer than anyone would expect a child to be in that situation. Popcorn had stayed home, but Sophia carried a small locket with the dog's picture. For good luck, as she had explained. Across the hall, Camilla and Maurice conversed intensely with their lawyers. Dr. Lucy Mendez, the social worker, approached Gregory. "Ready? As I've never been for anything in my life." The courtroom doors opened, and everyone was called inside. Judge Martha Lynn, a middle-aged woman with a stern expression, presided over the session. "This is a case of a petition for permanent guardianship with a view to adoption," she began, leafing through the documents. "Mr. Gregory Taylor requests the adoption of the minor, Sophia, no registered surname, approximately 8 years old, formerly homeless." Camilla and Maurice had requested to participate in the hearing as interested parties, citing concern for the minor's well-being and for their brother's ability to exercise responsible parenthood. Camilla's lawyer, Dr. Robert Menzies, was the first to speak. "Your Honor, we are facing an atypical and concerning case. Mr. Gregory Taylor, following a traumatic accident that resulted in partial paralysis and the loss of his wife, shows clear signs of emotional instability and impulsive decisions." As the lawyer elaborated his argument, painting a picture of a mentally unbalanced man who picked up a child from the streets on a whim, Gregory remained serene. He knew his turn would come. Mr. Taylor's own sudden and inexplicable recovery of mobility raises questions about his mental state. Medical specialists stated categorically that his injury was permanent, and now, coinciding with the arrival of this child, he claims to be miraculously recovering? The judge observed everything with a neutral expression, occasionally making notes. "Furthermore," the lawyer continued, "the socio-cultural gap between the adopter and the child is abysmal. Sophia has lived in precarious conditions, without formal education, without stable family references. Adapting to an environment of extreme opulence with radically different values and expectations could be traumatic for her development." When it was the defense's turn, Dr. Paul Montgomery, Gregory's neurologist, was called as the first witness. "Your Honor, I have been treating Mr. Taylor since the eye accident. The injury was considered permanent, yes. There is no conventional scientific explanation for his recovery, but the tests are indisputable. There is progressive nerve regeneration." "And in your professional opinion," the judge asked, "could this recovery be related to psychological disorders or the use of non-prescribed medications?" "Absolutely not. Mr. Taylor is mentally lucid and is not using any substances that could influence his physical condition or judgment." The next witness was Dr. Lucy Mendez, who presented her report in favor of the adoption. "During my visits, I observed an authentic and healthy family integration. Sophia demonstrates a secure bond with both Mr. Taylor and Lucas. Her school adaptation after initial difficulties shows significant progress." "And what about the accusations of the adopter's emotional instability?" the judge questioned. "What I observed was the exact opposite. Mr. Taylor demonstrates balance, patience, and a genuine commitment to the children's well-being. The positive transformation in his life since Sophia's arrival is evident not only in his physical health, but in the emotional reconnection with his biological son and his gradual return to his professional responsibilities. After other witnesses, including the school's headmistress who surprisingly testified in Gregory's favor, the decisive moment arrived: Sophia's testimony. The girl was led to an adjacent room where she would speak only with the judge and legal representatives to preserve her emotional comfort. "Sophia," Judge Lynn began gently, "I want you to tell me what your life is like at Mr. Taylor's house." With surprising simplicity and maturity, Sophia told her story: how she lived on the streets after losing her grandmother, how she met Gregory and Lucas, how she gradually began to feel like part of the family. "Uncle Gregory treats me the same as Lucas. No one has ever treated me like that before, like I was important. And would you like to be officially adopted by him, to be his daughter legally?" Sophia's eyes shone. "More than anything in the world. He's already my dad in my heart." "And what if the judge decides you should go to another family, or to an institution?" The girl thought for a moment. "I would be very sad. But my grandma said everything happens for a reason. If I can't stay with them, I will always keep the time we spent together in my heart." The maturity and resilience in her answer touched everyone in the room. Finally, it was Lucas's turn. "Do you like Sophia?" the judge asked the boy. "She's my sister," he answered simply. "Before she came, I was very sad. My dad was too. Our house was a joyless place after my mum went to heaven. Sophia brought the happiness back." The tears in the boy's eyes were genuine. "Please don't take my sister away." After the testimonies, the closing arguments and a recess for deliberation, Judge Martha Lynn returned to the courtroom with her decision. "This court has carefully analyzed all aspects of this unique case: the technical reports, witness testimonies, and, most importantly, the voice of the child herself have been considered as provided for by the Child and Adolescent Welfare Act." The room was in absolute silence. Initially, I confess I had reservations about this adoption petition for the same reasons presented by the opposing party: significant socio-cultural differences, the unusual circumstances of the meeting between adopter and adoptee, and Mr. Taylor's inexplicable medical recovery. Gregory felt a tightness in his chest. Sophia, sitting beside him, squeezed his hand tightly. However, after thoroughly analyzing the evidence presented, I conclude that authentic family ties transcend issues of social origin or the circumstances of a meeting. What we observe here is a family that formed through an unlikely encounter, but has developed genuine bonds of affection and mutual care. The judge looked directly at Sophia. "This court recognizes the fundamental right of every child to a home where they are loved, respected, and protected. And it has become clear that Sophia has found that home." Camilla closed her eyes, realizing the direction of the sentence. "Therefore, I grant the petition for the full adoption of the minor Sophia by Mr. Gregory Taylor. She will henceforth be known as Sophia Taylor, with all the rights and duties inherent in filiation. Follow-up visits will continue for the next 6 months, as required by law, but permanent guardianship is granted as of this moment." The judge smiled for the first time. "Congratulations to the new family." Sophia jumped into Gregory's arms, who hugged her tightly, tears streaming freely down his face. Lucas joined the hug, and the three of them remained like that, united, for several minutes. In the corridor, Camilla approached Gregory. "You won as always," she said bitterly. "This isn't about winning, Camilla. It was never a competition." "What are you going to do now? About the company? About us?" Gregory looked at his sister for a moment. The anger and resentment he had felt were gradually giving way to a deeper, more compassionate understanding. "The investigations into the irregularities will follow their legal course. I can't interfere with that. But as for us as a family—" He paused. "Maybe one day we can rebuild bridges. It won't be today or tomorrow. But the door will never be completely closed." Camilla seemed momentarily taken aback by his response. She had expected fury, revenge, not this calm understanding. The girl really did change. "You," she stated before walking away. In the following months, the lives of Gregory, Sophia, and Lucas were completely transformed. Gregory's physical recovery progressed until the cane became practically unnecessary. He returned full-time to the helm of Taylor Engineering, implementing significant changes in the corporate philosophy. In an interview with a major business magazine, he declared, "My company will no longer be just a builder of buildings, but a builder of futures. Every project will have an effective social responsibility component." The first initiative was the creation of the Sophia Taylor Foundation, dedicated to getting children off the streets, offering not just temporary shelter, but quality education and psychological and family support. "We don't just want to feed these children today," Gregory would explain at fundraising events. "We want to change their trajectories permanently, just as Sophia changed mine." The Athena Academy, under the new leadership of a progressive educator hired by Gregory, who had become the institution's main benefactor, implemented a revolutionary social inclusion program. 20% of the spots were reserved for children from underprivileged communities, with full scholarships and personalized educational support. Sophia, now officially Sophia Taylor, became a sort of informal ambassador for the program, helping new students adapt. Her natural wisdom and empathy made her a perfect bridge between different social worlds. Lucas, in turn, flourished alongside his adoptive sister. The once withdrawn and sad boy became confident and socially engaged. Together, the siblings created a youth volunteer club that became a sensation among the students. Camilla and Morris, after an out-of-court settlement, left the company and moved abroad. The family wounds remained, but Gregory kept his promise to never completely close the door on an eventual reconciliation. The former housekeeper, Martha, surprisingly, sought out Gregory months later to ask for forgiveness. After a frank conversation, he rehired her, not as a housekeeper, but as the coordinator of the first Sophia Foundation shelter. "Everyone deserves a second chance," he explained to Sophia when asked about the decision. "You taught me that." Sophia's special gift remained a secret between her and the family. Occasionally, when they visited the shelter, a sick child would inexplicably get better after spending time with her. Staff would comment on her unique ability to calm traumatized children just by holding their hands in silence for a few minutes. "My grandma used to say that when we help others, we help ourselves." Sophia would explain simply when asked about her special connection with children in distress. On a Sunday afternoon, about a year after their fateful first meeting, the family was enjoying a picnic in Central Park. Popcorn, now a healthy and well-cared-for dog, ran happily around them. Gregory watched the children play, reflecting on the extraordinary journey they had traveled. "What are you thinking about, Dad?" Sophia asked, sitting beside him. She had started calling him Dad a few days after the official adoption, naturally, without pressure or ceremony. "I was remembering that day on Fifth Avenue when we met." Sophia smiled. "The day of the miracle." "Yes, the day of the miracle." Gregory stroked his daughter's hair. "You know, I thought I had lost everything that mattered. I was convinced the world was a cold place, driven only by self-interest and greed." "And isn't it?" Sophia asked, with the peculiar wisdom that characterized her. "Sometimes it is. Often, in fact." Gregory smiled. "But there are also people like you, who even when they have nothing, are capable of giving everything. I had to lose almost everything to find what truly matters." Lucas came over, joining the conversation. "What really matters, Dad?" Gregory hugged both his children, feeling a gratitude that overflowed his heart. "Family, love, faith, the things money can't buy, but that make all the difference between surviving and truly living." In the distance, the sun began to set over New York, painting the sky with golden hues that recalled Sophia's favorite yellow dress. The city continued its frantic pace, millions of lives following their own paths. But there, on that small patch of grass, an unlikely family celebrated the most extraordinary of miracles, the rebirth of hope when all seemed lost. Gregory, the man who had once believed he had lost everything, now knew he had found something infinitely more valuable than his buildings and bank accounts. He had found the cure not only for his legs, but for his soul. And it had all started with a simple act of generosity, a piece of bread offered by a girl who had nothing, but whose heart was filled with the rarest treasure of all, the ability to see beyond appearances and believe in the best in people, even when they themselves had forgotten how. End of story. Dear listeners, we hope the story of Gregory and Sophia has touched your hearts and shown how small gestures of kindness can transform entire lives. To continue being moved by narratives like this, we have a special playlist with other inspiring stories that you can find by clicking here on the side. If this story has awakened in you the desire to believe in second chances and the magic of generosity, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Every day we bring unique stories that explore the human capacity for transformation and overcoming adversity. We look forward to reading your comments and hearing which moment of this journey touched your heart the most.